Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and to a brand new setup. If you are new here, you probably won't see any difference, but if you've watched my videos before, you will notice that we are not in my old apartment anymore. I don't know when this video is going up, but I moved last week and it is all new and exciting, and I'm currently sitting on the mattress because we don't have beds yet, so I'm making it work for the video. There'll obviously be an update about that coming soon, a proper vlog, but today's video is all about my experience in the Run Disney Princess Half Marathon Weekend 2024. This was my very first Run Disney event, but also my first running event of any kind. So if you are new to running or thinking about Run Disney, this is probably a good place to start as someone who obviously didn't know what they were doing when they signed up. I asked you guys on Instagram for your questions. I'm gonna try and go kind of in order of the weekend, the process. So the very first question is, how far in advance did you apply? I heard spaces go very quickly. I would love to do it. So the way it works is on the day, you can join a waiting room 30 minutes before the sale goes online. Honestly, that doesn't make much of a difference in my opinion, because we had multiple devices going. The time that we joined didn't seem to correlate with what got through first. So we were waiting for 30 minutes and then as soon as it went on sale, I think at like was 1 PM our time or maybe 2 PM, you get an estimated wait time. If it's over an hour, it'll just say over an hour. If it's under that, you'll get a more accurate time, like 48 minutes, 32, you get the picture. But that is not necessarily accurate because I feel like ours jumped down quite drastically. We were all in a group chat being like, oh my gosh, mine's at 16 minutes, mine's now ready to go. And then once you are through, it is kind of even more stressful because you have to input all your information like your address, bib size, estimated time of finish, and then your place is not secured in that race until you have paid. You could put everything in, your payment details, click confirm, and it might be that someone else has it in their basket and they are gone. So it is pretty stressful. Because there was 4 of us doing it, what we decided to do was have the first person do 2 registrations, just so that if no one else got through, there was at least someone else to go with that person, like they weren't going to be traveling alone. So from what I've heard, the challenge sells out the most quickly. So my friend actually got in first on her work Wi-Fi and she got 2 challenge places for me and her. I then got through next, so did the registrations for my other 2 friends with the challenge, and then once you have checked out, you can go back in and select more races. So then both of us then added the 5K for everyone else in the group. So basically our browsers got through it and we were all fine, and my other 2 friends had not even got through to be able to purchase anything. So really you need to have multiple people trying and hopefully you'll have some luck. But I will say, I think it was about maybe an hour and a half after my friends finally got through, we were like, let's just see out of curiosity. And I think everything was available apart from maybe the 10K, like one thing wasn't there. Or we did look later in the day and it was completely sold out. So you definitely need to be available on the day. You can't just like think about it. It's very much, you need to be here, you need to be signing up. I know there are Twitter accounts that do like alerts when places become available later, but they're going to be gone in like a second. So definitely apply as soon as possible. And then someone said, how did you find registration for all 3 races? As I said, the challenge was 1 registration, so that's your 10K and your half, and then the 5 was separate. So it's only 2 registrations. So I will say challenges are probably your best way to go if you want to do multiple ones, just because obviously you get the bonus medal, the bonus t-shirt, the bonus everything, and it's also just a quicker registration process. Someone else said, what's the registration like from the UK? I'm hoping to register for Food and Wine 10K. It's not really any different, but the only thing is you do need a card available that's not going to charge you for using it abroad. We used our Monzo cards because there's no fees for using it, but yeah, just something to know because it will charge you in dollars. Someone said, how did you deal with the mental challenge of doing Run Disney over the physical? So for me personally, I've had to do a lot of work in the past around making sure my relationship with exercise is a healthy one and not something that's to do with punishment. It's to do with enjoyment and making sure you feel your best. But I have put in the work through various means to be able to do this event, because I'd say if you're someone that relies on exercise as like a coping mechanism, training for an event like this is probably not the best. I'm not gonna give advice around that, but yeah, it's probably not ideal. But I have done the work in the past, and if you're someone that's looking to do the work on yourself and give yourself that time to really feel your best and maybe take on a challenge like this, then I would really encourage you to give therapy a try. This video is a paid partnership with BetterHelp. Starting therapy can be a very daunting experience. Trust me, I know. And you may not know where to begin. For example, the right therapist might not be in your area, and some people also find those face-to-face interactions uncomfortable. With BetterHelp, all you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to assess your specific needs in therapy, and then you'll get matched with your therapist in most cases in less than 48 hours. From there, you can have your therapy sessions whenever, wherever you like. Whether that's a phone call, a video chat, or even a messaging chat, it's there to be the most comfortable version of therapy for you. It doesn't even matter where you are. You could be on holiday, you could be preparing for your first half marathon event in a hotel room. Therapy is there available for you whenever and wherever you need it. Just like how we fit our workouts into our day and training for an event, you'll also be able to schedule your therapy sessions at a time that suits you. And if your therapist doesn't feel like the right fit, you can easily switch to a new one at no additional cost. If you think that you could benefit from therapy, consider BetterHelp. You can click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/wonderlands. Clicking that link not only supports the channel but gets you 10% off your first month of therapy. So the next questions are all around training. How did you train? Any tips for someone who doesn't normally run anywhere? And then someone else said, do you think your training program was effective? My training did not go to plan. I don't know if you know, but I got back from my Disney World trip in November and broke my toe that day, which sounds like a silly, goofy injury to have, but actually it was really bad. Like, I broke it in 3 places. I had to wear an orthopedic shoe for 6 weeks, and then after that I could do gentle walking, and I wasn't signed off to run. Well, really, they didn't say run, they said return to exercise gradually, until January 6th. So I did not do my first run until January 6th. And the event was, I think, January 23rd, the 5k. So we had a pretty condensed period of training, because everyone always says your training plan should be between 12 and 16 weeks. Something like a half marathon. Obviously ours was very much accelerated. I will say that I do have a general level of fitness. So I live in London, I walk a lot. For me, walking a half marathon on the weekend will not be a big deal. Not all in one go, but like doing that much distance. I'm on my feet a lot. I love walking, I'm pretty active, and before this I was going to the gym like 2 or 3 times a week. It's actually a funny story when I was considering signing up, because not a runner, just like an active person, and I was speaking to my friend Bron, once upon a Bron, you probably know her, and I was like, oh, I'm really tempted to sign up for Princess next year because I'd seen her vlogs, I loved the look of it, and I was just like really inspired to give it a go. And I had planned to do the 5k and the 10k because the half marathon just seemed like far too far of a distance. And then she was like, oh, you only need to keep a 16 minute per mile pace, and that's if you start dead last. So there's these balloon ladies, you probably know about them if you've heard of Run Disney, but they start dead last. They have a little Mickey balloon and they keep that 16 minute per mile pace the whole time, and if you can't keep up with that, then you could be swept off the course. But obviously there are 5 corrals, so I was in D corral, and I feel like we probably had like a 30-minute buffer from when the balloon ladies started. So 16 minute per mile pace, but you also have that additional 30 minutes. So she told me this and I was like, I'm gonna see how fast I walk and if that's enough for their 16 minute per mile pace. So I went on a 10k walk and I did that at like a 13:30 per mile pace or something, and then the next day I was like, should I just try and walk a half marathon and see? I didn't have a lot going on that day, so I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And it took me just over 3 hours, which was well within the time. I think 16 minute per mile works out around 3.5 hours. So suddenly I was like, I guess this is realistic. So I signed up with the intention of mostly walking it. A lot of people walk Run Disney. It's a perfectly reasonable thing to do, especially the 5k. A lot of it is just a nice little walk around World Showcase and you get a medal at the end. But then after breaking my toe, I just felt like a real urge to run, because I hadn't been able to be active for like 2 months. I really wanted to just give it a go. So I did my first 5k run on the 6th of January. So that's something important to preface. I was able to go out and run 5k immediately. I didn't have to train up to a 5k. So I wouldn't actually suggest my training plan. You're probably starting from a different place. But yeah, I ran a 5k straight away and then gradually just tried to do longer and longer runs. I did 2 5ks a week, and then my weekend run was a long run. I did like a mile a week. So I did 6 miles, then I did 8 miles, 9, 10, and then I actually did a half marathon 2 weeks before. It wasn't my plan to do it, but it just happened. I think I was gonna go for 11, and I took my fueling gel. It's a question about fueling actually later on. I took my fueling gel, looked at my phone, and I was like, oh, I'm at 11 miles and I've just taken a gel. We may as well do a half marathon. So yeah, 3 runs a week. I will also say I follow the Jeff Galloway method of walk run. So I do 90 seconds running, 30 seconds walking. That really works for me. It makes you no less of a runner if you do that. In fact, I feel like the majority of people that do Run Disney follow that method because it's just a much better way. It's like easier on your joints, on your body, and for me personally, who has had injuries in the past from running, it was the best way for me to be able to do the longer distance. And you're still covering it. Like at the end of the day, you're still going that far. And I personally found that I was faster overall doing walk run than just running, because you give your body that relief, and I'm also a fast walker, so it worked for me. That was a very long way of talking about training as someone who is not an athlete, as much as I might look like it in my jacket. So yeah, if you have any other questions about what I did, feel free to ask, but like I said, it was not the most typical of training plans. Someone actually did ask, do people walk the races mostly and then just run every once in a while? Everyone is different. As long as you cross the finish line within the time, you completed it. It doesn't really matter. There's always posts around like respecting runners and walkers, so like raising your hand when you're going to change pace, go left to right, because generally you should run on the left and walk on the right. But there are points in the course where it's just so bottlenecked that it's not really possible unless you run in the grass. which I did a few times. Loads of people walk, you shouldn't feel embarrassed about it. It's a very inclusive event. I also heard for this year's Princess Weekend, it was 80% female, which is just incredible. I love that so much. The fact that like this kind of event can inspire women to run who don't normally, like there was all kinds of women at this event, all inspired to come out and get their pretty medals and do the damn thing. Like, I love it. So I did briefly mention fueling before, and someone said, how did you fuel before, during and after running? I'll do on the race days themselves first, because the fueling around Run Disney is a little bit different, because you're staying in Disney World. For most people it's like a holiday destination and somehow you have to make it work. But on the races themselves, for the 5 and the 10k, I didn't take any fueling with me. I felt like I had enough to be able to do it. But for the half marathon, I did take a couple gels with me. I only ended up taking one. It's the Science and Sport gels that I take, and I used those while I was training as well. My general rule was to take one after running for about an hour, which was normally around the 10k mark, and then another one 3 miles later, and then another one if you needed to. But for the half marathon, I actually ended up taking one of them, and then they give you some sports beans on the course, or they did for mine. There was a stop, I think it was around mile 9 or 10. You got like a little boost. So the gels work for me, but I will say definitely test them out for yourself, because everyone's bodies work differently, can respond to gels differently. So very important to note, test it out. Nothing new on race day is what I've always heard. But then in terms of fueling, if you watch my vlogs, you'll see that we were eating theme park food. The night before the 5k, I had kids mac and cheese and fries. The night before the 10k, we actually went to Sebastian's Bistro, because that was the 5k day, so it was like Little Mermaid themed. A lot of protein actually there. A fairly healthy, good dinner for that one. And then the night before the half marathon, we went to Cheesecake Factory. We didn't have the cheesecake though, we took it to go, and I had like a big plate of pasta, because you know the Cheesecake Factory, the portions are huge, so carbs very important. And then the morning of the races, I had bought some Belvita breakfast biscuits, so I had those. They also give you a free banana when you cross the finish line, part of your race pack, so I had the banana for the 10 and a half. But actually for the 10, I found myself really hungry at the start line, so before the half, I actually bought one of those granola yogurt pots from the Grab and Go in the hotel, and I had that as well, just to have a little extra in the tank, because I'm not someone that can run on empty. Like, I need my fuel. But it is definitely a challenge being in Disney, because you have to kind of seek out those healthier, more fueling options over, you know, theme park food. I feel like now we can get on to the actual race days. So someone said, what characters did you meet along the way? I didn't meet that many characters on the course, but they do have the 4 princesses from the medals out available before and after your runs. So we met all of them during that period of time versus like on the course. I actually didn't twig that they were the ones in the medals until I think the 3rd day. So it was Ariel, Rapunzel, Tiana, and Anna and Elsa, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so lucky. I love all these princesses, and they're all here before the races, and I can queue and also see them afterwards. It wasn't until one of my friends made a comment and was like, I should bring my medal back to get a picture with the princesses at the finish line and have it like coordinate, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's all of them. And then on the course itself, for the 5k, the lines were just insane. The 5k isn't timed, but we were just like, it's not worth it for us. There were some very cool characters, but we were just enjoying ourselves, having a good time around World Showcase. We didn't feel the need. But then for the 10k, I stopped for Merida in Hollywood Studios. Did I stop for anything else? I feel like I didn't. And then for the half marathon, I stopped to meet Tink and Fawn. I'd always said that if I saw any fairies on the course, I would stop for them. Annoyingly, they were about 3 miles in. I'd have rather them be a bit later in the course, you know, after you've had some momentum going. And it did take about 5 or 6 minutes out of my time. The Merida one, luckily my friend was in line, and it's very easy to just like, if you see someone in line, you can just join them, provided that you just go for a group shot. Like, don't suddenly cut in and then be taking individuals as well. Like, let's be respectful. So that one only added like maybe a minute to my time. Like, it was absolutely fine. And then I also met Asha on the half marathon from Wish. She had no line at all. There are a few characters that basically had no one, and I could have met them, but it was that point in the race after mile 8 or 9, and I was just on the highway, and I was like, I don't even want to stop. Like, I just want to keep going. I want to go up the hills, go into the sun, and finish this race and get my medal. Lots of characters were available, probably like every mile, I would say, but you have to kind of like assess how fast you're going, can you make up that time, and is it a character that you care about. I know some people meet literally every character on the course and still finish. It is doable, but for me it was my first time. I was a little bit nervous about it, and I didn't want to stop too many times, even though I knew I'd be fine. Like, I had a buffer. There's that psychological thing of like completely stopping and just having time eat away. My friend Mel, she finished the half in I think like 3 hours 40 or 3 hours 50, so longer than the cutoff, but obviously like I said, we had the buffer, and she met so many characters and had the best time. And it just shows that you can really have like any ability, any speed, you can still have a fabulous time, meet characters, and still finish, still get the medal. Like, I stand by that. It doesn't matter how fast or slow you go, what kind of race you run. If you cross that finish line, you did it. Someone said, did it feel really crowded? It seems like a bottleneck stampede in some videos. I would say the 5k is basically like a lap of World Showcase, and most people are walking, like I said, so it really wasn't anything to complain about. I felt like it was pretty spacious actually. The 10k, it was a little bit crowded in places. There's a few like curves on the road. It wasn't anything too crazy. The half though, the first 2 miles, it was rammed on that course. It was so hard to get any momentum going. You could barely run, but the rest of the race was pretty good. The only place was going through the castle in Magic Kingdom. Obviously that's a very narrow walkway, so that was very crowded. You can't really run through the castle, you pretty much have to walk it. You don't enter a Run Disney race though to get a PB. Like, this is a fun experience. Just relax, take a breath. You're still gonna have a good time, or maybe not a good running time, but a good time, like a good time. Did you buy photo pass and is it worth it? We did get photo pass. I was actually the one that was umming and ahhing about it because my race photos weren't the best, but I am glad that I have it now. Like, there are some nice pictures in there, it's just that a lot of them it's like pretty crowded, and obviously I don't look my best when I'm running. But yeah, I have those memories. They're not really ones to share on Instagram. I'll put a few up now. They're nice, but like, I don't know if personally I would do it unless I was splitting it. So we had 4 of us, so we all divided the cost, and it turned out to be around £30 per person, which is honestly fine. They do have a lot of photo pass photographers. They're in these like green little tent things that are on the ground. You can see them very easily. However, they are all inside the park. So the 10k, the first half of it is purely on road, so no photographers, and then the half marathon, you only really have 2 miles inside a park. You have Magic Kingdom Mile, and then you also have Epcot at the end. The rest is highway. There's really not that many opportunities to get good photos. Someone said, what was the most magical memory you made? Obviously, running in Magic Kingdom was just a complete pinch me moment. Getting to run down Main Street USA, there's no feeling like it. The sun was gradually coming up, and it just was the most pinch me moment. You run down, then Mickey and Minnie were there in a gazebo in like their princess and prince outfit. You go into Fantasyland and it's all like gradually waking up and golden and beautiful. And then you go through the castle, which is just the most surreal. Like, the half marathon was quite tough in that most of it is on road, but it is so worth it for that 1 mile in the Magic Kingdom when it's just pure magic. There are no words to summarize how special that feeling is, and it's why I feel like so many people get the bug for Run Disney. Which leads me to my next question. Would you do it again? I'm thinking of signing up for my first. Other people say, will you do another? Would you run Princess Weekend in the future? And then someone also said, would you ever consider doing the Dopey Challenge? So while I was out there after doing the 5k, my sister messaged me and literally was like, I want to do Princess. So she really wants to do it. I'm sure there'll be another time in my future I will do Princess. For me, it's very medal dependent. I want it to be princesses I actually like and want a medal for and a t-shirt for. In terms of Dopey, we'll see. My goal, I would like to do a marathon next year in the UK somewhere. That would be my goal, to have like a separate marathon and see I can do that. And then potentially the 2026 Dopey. Don't hold me to it, but that will be my 30th year. I know I look like I'm about 23, but that will be my 30th year, and I feel like it'd be a really cool way to commemorate that. And obviously it's like the most iconic. It's running through all 4 parks, because you do the marathon, you also do the other ones. I'd like to think I could do it, but we'll see. If you see me doing a marathon next year, just know that I'm on my way for that plan. Let's see. I have a few questions saying, how did you feel before, during and after running? And someone said, how did you feel going to the parks on race days? The biggest challenge I feel like is the lack of sleep. You have to wake up so early for these races. You have to be in your corrals by 4 AM, but then you have to get a bus from your resort. So we left at 3 AM on the bus to then get there to like do bag check and all that stuff, to get a good place in the corral, because you want to be right at the back of your corral. You have to buy yourself the maximum amount of time you can in front of the balloon ladies. So we woke up at 2 AM for 3 consecutive days. Now, coming from the UK, that wasn't as bad as if you're local, because obviously we are jet lagged, so 5 hours time difference. You're still not really in UK time zone or American time zone. You're just in this weird in-between nomads land, so you're just very tired. My sleep scores were horrendous on my Fitbit from those few days. It was like, you had 5 hours sleep, your sleep was poor. And I was like, thanks, I'm gonna go run a half marathon. The weirdest thing for me though was after like the 10k and the half, obviously you've been awake since 2 AM, you finish, you come back, and it's about, what, maybe 9 AM? I just wanted a pizza, like a grilled cheese, because your body is like, it is lunchtime. I've been awake for hours, but they're only serving breakfast food. We went to Magic Kingdom after the 5k and just did like a Little Mermaid ride and had a little wander around, did it very low-key and chill, because I feel like that was good for us to keep going, and we weren't doing loads, but we were active. The 10k though, we kept it properly chilled. I spent 2 hours just chilling with my friend Bron at the Riviera, having a coffee. We did a little adventure on the Skyliner, just sitting down and going around the resorts, and Cheesecake Factory. No parks on that day. Whereas the half marathon, we did go to the parks. We didn't get there until around 1:30 because we did have some chill time, showers, freshen up, and just relax. So it is possible, but we then had like 5 or 6 days after the races to enjoy the parks. I wouldn't want the pressure of having to do full park days after not having much sleep, knowing you're waking up at 2 AM. Like, if anyone watches the fireworks and then goes to bed and wakes up and does a Run Disney event, I don't know how, because we were in bed at 7 PM every night and I was still exhausted. Okay, now we have some more random questions. Are the medals free? Is it expensive, and would you do it again? Yes, it is expensive. I think it cost for all 3 races, including the challenge. For me, the challenge is about $10 extra than doing the half and the 10 separately. So it's a pretty good deal. But it is, I think mine was about £390 for all 3 races, which is a lot. But we all said we actually feel like we had a good value experience. It's very expensive, but hear me out. So you get the buses, you have transportation sorted to and from the event. Obviously you have all the characters on the course, you have the t-shirts that you get, so you get 1 t-shirt per event. So I have mine here, the 5K, all the sponsors on the back, and these are like good quality dry fit t-shirts. So that's probably like, what, $30 already? My 10K one is in the wash because I wear that one the most, because it's like a pretty pastel purple, versus the half, which is very vibrant. I don't know if I'll wear this one that much, but we still have it. And then for the challenge, my favorite one, the frozen one. It is just so cute. That's included in your registration. Once you finish, you get a box with snacks in it. There's like a honey stinger waffle, there is sports beans, fruit snacks, the plastic cheese, the infamous plastic cheese, some tortilla chips. There was some kind of like cracker thing. You get a banana. You also get a Powerade. Those alone in the parks cost like $5 or $6, and you get a water. There's obviously the whole organization of the expo. So many people involved in the event. Yes, it's very expensive, but I think it's worth it. Oh, and also obviously the medals. Do you want to see the medals? We have the challenge, my favorite. We then have the half marathon, the 10K, and the half. They are gorgeous, and they have like moving elements as well. I always heard people say that like they chip really easily. Personally, mine are fine. So maybe I just got some good ones, or I'm being extra careful. They did travel home in my suitcase in a sock. Okay, my camera is dying. I have a few more questions, so I'm gonna charge it and then come back really quick. Okay, I am back. Obviously the lighting is gonna be different, the vibes are different, it's a few hours later, but we're gonna continue. I quickly want to show you though, because obviously this is not included in the price, but there is a lot of merch to purchase at the expo as well, including my jacket, which I love. It was a spontaneous purchase, but no regrets. Obviously I'm wearing it right now. I also got a few pins. This one has all the princesses from the weekend and the distances, and that one just has Anna and Elsa for the challenge. I also got one of the medal pins. I got the 10K one, which is the Rapunzel one. It's on my new emote. I have a photo of it because I don't know where it is in all my boxes. I wanted the challenge medal, but that was gone before we even got in the expo, and we were in like the first 10 minutes of the merch being open to general public. We had boarding group 10. You do have to do a boarding group to go into the official merchandise. That's something to know, but yeah, that was the merch. And then I also got, to commemorate the trip, this personalized ornament with Disney Fairy Tale Challenge on it, which is just gorgeous. You can take the tag off it as well, so I'm just gonna have it on my side all year round. So now on to the last couple questions. I'm gonna wrap it up pretty quickly now. How did your body feel after running, and what did you do to recover? These are probably one and the same, because I got injured, and I feel like part of that is because there was no recovery. It was one race after the other, and then 6 days in the parks on your feet for 12 hours a day. So on the 10K day, I had a bum bag that I wore on my back with my jacket on, and I feel like the weight of it basically pulled to one side and I tweaked my lower back, which would be annoying anyway. And I looked up stretches to do that evening, and everywhere said just rest, like don't do anything. And I was like, that's kind of tricky because tomorrow morning I'm running a half marathon and I'm still doing it. So obviously I did the half marathon, made it even worse. It was pretty painful the second half of the race. Like I kept seeing the medical tents and being like, should I get something for this, because it does not feel good. So my back was hurting already, and then on the penultimate day of our trip, my foot started hurting, like in the arch of my foot. And I've been wearing obviously not the best shoes the rest of the week. I'd worn my Hokas for the races, but then I was wearing my like flat soled, they're like Nike Air Force Ones, which are normally fine, but I feel like after doing that many miles, my feet just needed more of a support and not to be wearing, you know, flat shoes. So my foot was hurting in my arch, and I've had tendinitis before, and it basically just flared up. And it has meant that since coming home, I had basically like 2 weeks where I couldn't run at all because I was in so much pain with my back, my foot combined. So all that to say, Run Disney is so fun, but it definitely does make you prone to injuries because of the nature of the races being consecutive, the early starts, lack of sleep, and going to the parks afterwards. It's kind of a recipe for, I was gonna say disaster, but basically injury. Do I have any regrets? No, I would do it again 100%, like I've said. but just something to be aware of. I don't know if there is a way to recover better if you're staying at Disney, like maybe bring your own bath salts or something, I don't know. But yeah, recovery was not something that we really did. We launched into a whole holiday afterwards and I loved it, but my body paid for it. And then the final question is, what would you do differently? The only thing I would say is to stop more with the races and just enjoy the overall experience. I loved it so much, but I definitely could have stopped more and still finished with loads of time. The Run Disney races are meant to be fun and there's meant to be like so many extras on the side, so you should just enjoy it. I definitely took a lot of photos and videos, so there's no regrets on that respect, as you've probably seen from the vlogs, but just like meet more characters and just soak in the overall vibes, you know, because they're expensive and there's so much more to it than just the run aspect. But other than that, I just loved the experience. I thought it was a real dream. We were so lucky with the weather. Like, it didn't rain the whole time we were running, and even the week afterwards it didn't rain. It wasn't hot at all. If anything, it was on the chilly side, which, you know, coming from the UK, if I'm saying it's cold, people must have been absolutely freezing, but like native Floridians. I just loved it so much. That's the end of this Run Disney experience Q&A summary video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for the trip vlogs to come, because obviously I've got all the other like Disney World vlogs coming, some other Disney trips coming up the rest of the year, which you should get excited about. Also wanted to say a big thank you to anyone that donated to my fundraising page. It honestly meant the world to me. The generosity of the donations really just, yeah, blown away. So kind. If you would still like to donate, I'll leave it down below, but no pressure. But that is all from me for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!
King of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I've reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me.